So I would be curious to hear what you guys thought about these videos, but I think the Shirin Nishat piece, Turbulent, was probably pretty self-evident. But what she's saying is men have an audience. Men are being heard. Even if they're turning their back to that audience, they still have an audience and are being respected. Where women, they're singing their hearts out, so to speak. They're giving a cry, and no one is there to listen to them, right? She doesn't have an audience. And furthermore, she has no privacy. She's completely vulnerable. The camera goes around her 360, where he can step off camera and he has privacy, right? He has that almost as a right. He has his privacy. And there he is with the people who respect him and aren't trying to prod or go any further. But where she has no privacy, everything is being shown to her, and no one is there to listen. So quite a contrast. So that's how she's using the camera and the acts and the actions to be able to express her feelings about how men and women are being treated differently in the culture. And in Deadpan, what is he doing here? Well, this shot here showing him with the building falling right down on him. And what we really get, if you're watching it and you see that close up of the shoes, the close up of the shoes without the shoelaces, where does that come into play? Often, so that association, in my mind at least, is when you go to prison, they take away the shoelaces. So, one thing to know about Steve McQueen is that he was subject to institutional racism growing up in the school system. So, they looked at him, as a young black man, and they said, "You're going to go the trade route. We're not going to put you in the further education route. You basically that's the path that we see for you," which was institutional racism. They just looked at him and because of the color of his skin decided that's your path. So what he's talking about here is, yeah, supposedly I have my freedom. Supposedly I have choices. Supposedly I could run away the way Buster Keaton did. But can I really? Is it really safe for me to step out of that box? This little box that I've been given, where this is the only space where I can be myself? Because in theory I can move, but it's actually quite dangerous for me to be able to move, right? So supposedly I'm free, supposedly, but there's this whole system that keeps holding me down and threatening me. And if I step out of line, so to speak, I could risk an awful lot. So I think this piece is really interesting because it's a total lack of action, and it's all about the lack of action and the camera work, what he shows us. That's the language. That's how we can interpret the piece. And in the Pippi Lodi piece, I bet you guys were able to come up with this conclusion as well. But she's trying to get us to break our conventions about how women are portrayed, right? So we're used to seeing women portrayed as the feminine, beautiful character. And we're used to seeing men as being the more destructive characters, the forceful characters, the ones that they might be going down the street and smashing things and we wouldn't think twice about it. But when you put those two things together, it seems odd, right? It seems odd that we have the feminine, beautiful, carefree character and she pushes it over the top. She makes this woman the epitome of being of a feminine woman. And she's also wearing these red shoes, which I always think is a symbol somehow of Dorothy, this one strong character who does manage to get away and lead others. So she has the red shoes on, but she's doing an action that we do not expect. And why don't we expect it? Because in our own minds, we've stereotyped or we've built up expectations as to how women should be behaving. And so she's getting us to be aware of that and to kind of challenge it within ourselves. All right, so if you have any other thoughts about these videos that you'd like to share, feel free when you submit your homework assignment to add those into the comments or just shoot me an email.